peace, Nipsey Hussle. May your soul be free. May you live as the sovereign soul that you represented in your industry. May your soul be what you represented to at least an individual like me, that whether you're a fan of hip-hop, whether you're a fan of the music, whether you're a fan of the message, I'm not going to sit here and act like Nipsey Hussle's message in his music was any different than a 21 Savage or a Kodak Black or any other person in the industry that is allowed to reach those heights. But I can say Nipsey Hussle's story, the character and the role that he played, it showed a different path to success that was especially empowering to the independent and sovereign mind state. So for that, you could say when I heard the news, I mourned the death of Nipsey Hussle for a moment. But then I quickly began to take the macro perspective and put the pieces together, and the shock quickly wore off, and the gravity soon settled in. I've always been a fan of Nipsey Hussle. Recently, there have been 3 major things that put him on my personal radar, along with the acquisition of certain types of knowledge around the same time period within probably this past year. Nipsey Hussle's career has kind of been taking off. I can't say I've been a major diehard fan. Like, I couldn't name all his albums or even name a bunch of his songs, but Nipsey Hussle's always had a sound that I've appreciated, being from the West Coast and being an independent artist, or at least representing the archetype of an independent artist. You don't really know who's independent and who's not nowadays. But he had a lot of different ways of selling his music and building his brand that was outside of the usual mainstream artists. So I always respected and looked up to him in that regard. And seeing him be interviewed and sort of championed by Gary Vaynerchuk, which is like a modern day evangelist for entrepreneurs and independent businessmen nowadays, businessmen and businesswomen just doing it your way. You know what I'm saying? He's that guy now. Seeing them come together was different to me. Seeing an artist like Nipsey Hussle kind of get put into that arena with a guy like Gary V. And I think Gary V is part of his brand is to blend those two worlds. You've seen him do it now. He did it with Ace Boogie, with Gunna, and people like that. You see him kind of bridging that average Joe business tycoon with the business-minded entrepreneurial street rapper, street guy. You know, the Jay-Z's, I flip my drug money into music industry money, that type of, you know, intellect in the rap game. Gary V is bridging those two worlds. So that stood out a lot to me. Hearing that he was working, this fast forward way more recent, Nipsey Hussle and the Dr. Sebi documentary, that stood out as a major red flag. This information came out after I discovered information about the Black Boule, MK Ultra, and all of the roles, secret societies, Masonry, MK Ultra, the CIA, all of the roles that those things play within media, entertainment, and in particularly the weaponization of the rap industry and rap music in general on a mainstream level. So upon learning that, and if you need to know about that, Black Boule, Phi Sigma Beta, Skull and Bones, MK Ultra, CIA, yeah, look that shit up if you think that these rappers and these entertainers are who you think they are and who they present themselves to be. If you believe these come-up stories, and if you think that you just gotta work hard and you'll make it in the industry, I got that information. I have some shit for your ass, so look that up. Steve Coakley is a good place to start, and then branch off from there. So seeing Nipsey Hussle being somewhat prominent and on his rise in the industry, granted being an independent artist, I'm like, okay, if he's in the game and he's supposed to be free in the game, independent, meaning he doesn't have any sole contract ties to any of these labels, and he's up there with that platform, able to influence the masses, and he's doing a Dr. Sebi documentary, who anybody major that's been involved with Dr. Sebi, they ain't made it. Lisa Left Eye Lopez, Dr. Sebi himself. If you don't know who Dr. Sebi is, do your research on that. But that was another red flag to me. More of a red flag sign than the Gary V sign. The Gary V sign, at that point, I hadn't looked into the MK Ultra and all that other shit, the Black Boule and things like that, and I really just saw it as a, you know, a power move. Like, damn, Nipsey Hussle's, you know, he's coming up. Then the Dr. Sebi thing, I'm like, oh, if he's coming up through them, with them being the powers that be, I don't know how this Dr. Sebi thing is gonna play. Either they're going to use him to kind of water down and do a kind of COINTELPRO operation with the Dr. Sebi legacy, just like they kind of did with the Martin Luther Kings and everybody else. You know, when you're alive, you're a pariah to the point where they'll assassinate you and kill you. Then after your death, they'll flip and remix your whole story, and you become a hero to the world, but you become a watered down, convoluted, perverted version of who you really were when you were alive. Because when you were alive, they wanted you dead, but now when you're deaf, they'll celebrate you, but only when after they get to remix your whole legacy. So I felt maybe they're gonna use Nipsey to do that. And then he gets nominated for a Grammy, which was really weird to me. Like, out of all the artists for an album he dropped early last year, out of all the artists to get, like, out of all the people, Nipsey Hussle gets nominated for a Grammy. Didn't win, but the nomination alone was just weird to me. Like, who at the Grammys is listening to Nipsey Hussle? How did Nipsey Hussle get on the Grammys radar? Never to the point that I think that they'd kill him. And then they killed him. And I don't know about anybody else, but those three things, you know, you can check out the gematria people, check out your astrological divinators. I dibble and dabble, I look into all that. If you want the fine details with the numbers, the times, and the seasons and all that. But just off of my casual observations, those 3 points right there, and there's probably interviews where he might have said some more stuff, other events you could definitely tie into it all, but this is just my testimony right now based off of my perspective. And I feel like those three things were just kind of telling signs of what was going on with Nipsey Hussle. Whether it was his plan, their plan, or God's plan. Those three things are very telling to me. And those are the three things that immediately triangulated and connected in my consciousness when I saw the news, and it just wasn't that much of a surprise no more. So I'd love to hear anybody else's thoughts. If you got some more information, was he a willing sacrifice, or was it a hit? Was he with the program and tried to deviate? Or was he truly a renegade that they had to eliminate? Let me know.